Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome. Thank you for joining our virtual workshop today. We are joined today by Dr. Lauren Summers, APA's Deputy Chief of Psychology and the Public Interest, and Antonio Freitas, Director of Educational Experiences at Sesame Workshop. We have a very packed agenda today, so we are about to dive in, and I will go ahead and pass it on to Antonio.
Thanks, Efwa. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the conversation today with Sesame Street and Communities. On behalf of the Sesame Workshop, my name is Antonio Freitas, and I'm excited to talk to you today about some of the resources that might be helpful in your work to address emotional well-being with children and the adults in their circle of care. In response to the growing mental health crises, Sesame Workshop is supporting the emotional well-being of young children and families through research-based resources and engaging content designed for the whole family. Our approach offers strategies to support all families, from celebrating joyful everyday moments to teaching children the essential skills they need to understand and manage their feelings, to helping parents and community providers recognize the signs of more serious mental health challenges. My name is Antonio Freitas, and as the Director of Educational Experiences here at the Sesame Workshop, I have the privilege of building a lot of the resources we're going to be talking through today and thinking about what they look like through the lens of adult providers and caregivers that work with children to build smarter, stronger, kinder communities. I'm originally from the Bay Area in California, and my favorite Muppet growing up was Bert because I was a twin, and so my brother Carlos and I were always affectionately referred to as Bert and Ernie. I'm going to pass the microphone over to my friend and yours, Dr. Lauren Caldwell Summers. Tell us a little bit about herself and her favorite Muppet.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lauren Summers. I'm the Deputy Chief of Psychology and the Public Interest and the Senior Director of Human Development Team at APA. And I want to thank you for joining us today. APA has been honored to partner with Sesame Workshop on its multi-platform initiative to promote the emotional well-being of children under the age of 6. And we're so very excited to share these resources with you. We've helped to ensure that the content's informed by psychological science. And through this partnership, APA members have been able to contribute content, and I was lucky enough to serve as an in-house reviewer. Originally coming from Horse Pasture, Virginia, which I'm sure no one has heard of, but I assure you is a real place. I did grow up watching some Sesame Street as well, and my favorite character was Oscar the Grouch. I thought he was a lot of fun, and I loved all the attempts to make him happy.
Awesome. Well, we're so excited to be learning with and from you, Lauren. Let's dive into things. To give you all a sense of what these next action-packed 35 minutes will look like, we'll begin today's conversation with a quick overview of Sesame Street and Communities, this digital hub of multimedia resources to meet children and their circle of care. And then from there, we'll have a quick conversation about the needs of your own communities and the potential to capitalize on its strengths and needs with meaningful resources connected to keeping kids healthy and happy. And then as we close out, we'll play with a few different types of tools we have on the website, and then spend some time thinking about the best ways to embed this into the work, play, and to the fold of programming you all do before we close out. And as we work collectively to build smarter, stronger, kinder communities, our goals for this mental health and emotional well-being initiative hit a lot of different areas. The first was to elevate and destigmatize the conversation around emotional well-being in children through context, culture, and systems. To increase the understanding and the dissemination of resources for emotional well-being for all of the grown-ups that work with children, principally providers and those working in schools and other early child care settings that support families. We're also aiming to increase the ability of parent caregivers to support the emotional well-being in their children by improving the ecosystems around them, and most importantly, to teach children to understand, to recognize, and to apply single strategies to address and maintain emotional well-being. That is part of the larger fabric that is Sesame Street and the Workshop, as we build on our more than 50-year commitment to serving and learning from children, their families, and all of the grown-ups in our neighborhood, working together to build smarter, stronger, kinder kids, one relationship at a time. And so, with a clear sense now of what we're going to be talking about these next few minutes and the need for resources to support our communities in care, let's explore what Sesame Street and Communities can look like for all of you. And I recognize that Sesame Street, both the name and the title Sesame Street and Communities, can bring to us a lot of loving, nostalgic reactions, but we also recognize that's a long title. So for this conversation, we'll talk about Sesame Workshop and Sesame Street and Communities, or SSIC, as one single stop. The Single Sesame Workshop has resources and tools for a wide variety of topics. And today we're here to show you some of the many ways that you can support children and families in improving their emotional well-being with everyone in the neighborhood. Through our work, we've learned that the more that we can help families, both children and their grown-ups, take small steps, the more that we can increase their chances of successful outcomes in school and in life. It's about helping everyone in the neighborhood build our own resilience as we help children grow in healthy ways. Sesame Street and Communities is Sesame Workshop's program to support community providers who serve families and help children face challenges big and small. You are a crucial member of this group that promotes children's physical and emotional health. And together with our free research-based resources, we hope that the job can be done a little bit easier, a little bit more playfully, and a little bit more joyfully using Muppets to meet the need. And so in order to expand the reach and the impact of our resources, we have in recent months moved from multiple single digital web places into just one stop that anyone that wants to explore Sesame Workshops can go to. Just by clicking into sesameworkshop.org, you can look through and comb our various adult-facing sites into one child-friendly place with a new tagging system of over 2,000 different pieces of content you can use with everyone connected to a child and the ways that they like to learn. Be that the use of a storybook, a printable packet, a video, or even digital game, you can meet the needs of everyone in your community working to grow smarter, stronger, and kinder by thinking about the ways that they like to learn. So that's my big, quick talk on all things that are magical about Sesame Street and our workshop and the new digital platform. But I want to ground the work that we're going to be doing in our next few minutes together into the people in this room. And we have right now, Lauren, over 325 people all getting ready to weigh in. So I want to take a moment to hear from all of you. As you think about the children, the families, and the caregivers that you work with and that you have in your care, think about those that you serve. What are some of the key components that you think of when we talk about the idea of nurturing relationships? Use the chat window and let us know some of your thoughts as we start to dive into what this means in our shared work together. And I'm interested, Lauren, from your perspective, what does nurturing relationships sort of bring to mind in your space?
Well, we know as psychologists and as parents and caregivers that it is relationships that are the foundation of children's healthy development. The parents' ability to build those strong relationships is really the active ingredient for healthy human development and the main pathway through which children's environment influences their outcomes. Mm-hmm. So, there's some key factors to building those healthy, nurturing relationships. And I know we're going to be talking about those as we go forward. Interested to see that we have some great points being made in the chat. And I just wanted to also take a moment to say it's so great to see our international audience. We've got such a huge representation from around the world today. So that's a lot of fun to see. And I see people talking about attachment, connection, empathy, active listening, all key parts of developing those components and engaging in that sort of synchronicity and attunement that we'll be talking about as parents learn to respond to their baby and their baby learns to respond to them. And they do this give and take dance that really is the building block of that relationship.
I love, when you talk about the idea of give and take, this idea that in many ways it's both modeled by the adults and the grown-ups, but it's dialogic. There is a give and take. There is a process that a child plays a vital role in, not just sort of being receptive to, but engaging in. There's a back and forth to that.
Absolutely. And we often see that when parents are struggling with their children, that's part of what's out of sync, right? Is not being able to respond to what the child is putting out there, to not getting the cues and not being able to build from that. And so, in our work with parents, sometimes that's a place to focus when the children are, especially when they're very young and we're trying to help and sort of improve that engagement and relationship. The bait for right from the very beginning, babies are putting those signals out.
Yeah, this is great. Well, with you beautifully framing all the work we're going to be talking about and so many friends in the chat talking about all the importance of attachment, engagement, communication, creating safe spaces that can give people the chance to sort of live their best lives and be fully seen in the light. Let's take a look and dive a little bit deeper into what these resources look like with what we have as an introductory video to our page on emotional well-being. With some of our favorite Muppets and their grown-ups. Now, I warn you, the song is real catchy, so it might not stick with you now, but if you're brushing your teeth at night or walking your dog a little bit later on today, you will remember the beat to the song and begin to whistle it. Let's hear it.
There you go, son. Your boo-boo is all better.
Thank you, Daddy. Elmo feels a lot better now.
Oh, good, son. I'm glad you feel better. And you know, how you feel on the inside is just as important to me as how you feel on the outside.
Oh, Daddy. Elmo's daddy listens, and his daddy cares.
I do about Elmo's thoughts and feelings when Elmo's happy or scared.
I know my mom's listening.
I always will,
Cause we're holding hands. And then she nods her head.
and I understand that.
When Elmo feels okay, or when I'm not okay, you take care of me, and that's what you do.
We do.
Elmo's grown up.
Is there in every way?
You take care of Elmo's, and we'll share my thoughts and feelings too.
And I sure love to listen to you.
Oh, it's you and me, it's me and you.
My dad listens and cares for me.
I always will.
When I'm happy or excited,
Or when you're sad or worried.
I know she's listening.
closely when you talk, I'll give you a great big hug.
And it helps me feel strong.
We say,
When I feel okay, or when I'm not okay, you take care of me, that's what you do. My grown up,
is there in every way, care of me, you're my grown up and I know you're there.
And you're grown up and you know I care.
It's you and me and me and you.
So when you are okay or not okay, I'll take care of you.
So it is a fun song to listen to, but I also love that lyric about whether you're okay, you're not okay, I'll take care of you. And I think that really sort of underscores on what you were talking about, that idea of permanence and presence and confidence that comes with the creation of community in children and the families that they're in. For context in the work that you and so many members of APA helped guide the work in, much of the context that built a lot of these resources and was the antecedent to this were all of the challenges that were families felt exacerbated connected to COVID. Prior to the pandemic, 1 in 5 children were roughly diagnosed with a mental health disorder, but soon after, and during that time, only 20% received follow-up care. As a function of life after COVID, we saw that mental health related emergency room visits were up in 2020 by over 24%, but there still continued to be a lack of focus on resources for young children. And so we here at Sesame Street tried to be strategic about really enlisting the support of brilliant counterparts like you and all members of APA to think about how we do this work, to use the right words, to say the right things, but to get across that universal idea of making sure that we build safe communities with our youngest first and foremost in our attention. And as we think about the work that we did, we invited people at the beginning to talk through how they understand nurturing relationships. And before we build out any resources, we think about sort of the big 3 key ingredients. And so what we took from our group of subject matter experts was that anything that we built connected to emotional well-being had to be grounded in these 3 sort of key ingredients. Attunement, right? This idea of the nurturing relationship between parents and children, this idea of helping our youngest explore, name, and learning to take care of their big feelings, and then think about how we address the adults that are working with children with strategies that help them professionally grow in response to meeting the need of children and families.
Antonio, I love that you really started with attunement here, because as we already mentioned, that's where it all begins. It's what is that connection and dance between the parent and the child, or the caregiver and the child, and how well they respond. And it's so much more than just providing for the basic needs. It's really that engagement and where it all starts, where the attachment relationship starts, where the foundation for the cognitive building blocks, the brain architecture, all the parts that are going to end up leading to successful development and strong mental health, emotional responsiveness, social skills, cognitive skills, and that flows right away to tending to feelings. The idea that as children come to understand and their emotions and develop some emotional regulation, it sets the stage for adults to help them understand what they're experiencing, name their feelings, understand what emotions look like, contextualize emotions for them, and then help them understand how to appropriately respond. So they, that they're better able to interact and engage, and it sets the pathway for lifetime learning and success. So the progression here from attunement to tending to feelings, and then I'm so glad that you've got the personal growth for providers in here, because we can't forget the people who are doing the work and helping the parents and the children, as well as the parents themselves, to take care of themselves. So
Yeah.
I love this pathway.
So let's take a look and dive a little deeper into what these three concepts look like fleshed out in resources, right? And that first one, again, is this idea of attunement. And we know, like a radio station, that we need to tune in to the frequency of our children to understand them better. As first teachers, parents and other caregivers have the ability to nurture connections with their youngest children through things like shared time, words of love, and behaviors that remind children of the protective and ever-present role these caring adults play in their lives to get through things that we call sunny days, stormy days, and those cloudy ones in between. And so, connected to our first concept of attunement and relationship building, our resources on the emotional well-being page include things like the article Tuning In, and the principal resources of the lyrics to that song, My Grown Up in Me, that we just watched, and also a book, My Grown Up Cares. And we know, right, that when you listen to your child, you share joyful moments, offer comfort, support, and love, that other parents and adults help build this foundational well-being moment. And the most important things that adults can do then is to be that steady, loving presence that we saw and overheard in both the song, in your comments, and a lot of the chat window features. And so I want to take a few minutes to share on our screen a couple of the pages from My Grown Up Cares. And I'm going to invite friends that are in this chat window to put in it some of the different strategies that they might use, questions that they might ask, or activities that they might do before, during, or after the sharing of this book with the child or family in your care. So let's take a look together at My Grown Up Cares.
My Grown Up Cares. I have a great grown-up who's loving and kind and helps me grow stronger in body and mind.
Elmo's mom and I sure do love being Elmo's most important people.
I have thoughts in my mind I can't wait to share. My grown-up will listen. I know that they care.
I love listening to Big Bird tell me the best part of his day. Tell your grown-up one good thing about your day. Grown-ups, now it's your turn.
Whenever I learn a new drum beat or song, my grown-up really listens and then grooves along.
Sing a song you both know. Or kids, teach your grown-up a song that you learned.
I'm so very curious. I want to explore. We use our 5 senses to help us learn more.
My Big Bird is so curious. We love to look at leaves together and talk about how they are the same and how they're different.
And friends, we'll go through one more page together before we share out some of the strategies that you've begun to put in the chat window.
Reading's good for our brains. It's lots of fun, too. Read some stories to me, and I'll tell some to you.
And so you can see, friends, in that video and in that digital storybook, you've had a chance to see almost the way that a book can be read aloud to a child, but that it can be engaged with as a conversation, right? We give prompts, opportunities to share, exchange best practices, and talk through what is being explored on the screen together. This resource and all of the resources that we're going to be talking about today live on sesameworkshop.org. And we'll show you at the end of today's presentation how to get the QR code and reach all of these free bilingual resources to meet the needs of everyone in the neighborhood. I'm interested, Lauren, in your perspective, what sort of stuck out to you in that book, or some of your favorite pages or parts of the story?
So I really love, Antonio, the way this book makes things concrete. It's in when we're working with parents and talking with them about concepts and ideas and ways to do things. Sometimes it's difficult for them to think about how they're going to go home and do something with that or apply it. And the book is, a great walkthrough. Read it with your child, but also it has great suggestions of very concrete ways to engage and improve attunement. So I love that part about it. I also loved in the chat from Jody, who said one of the strategies is to ask children the question about who are all the grown-ups who care about you. And that's a great follow-on to this book, to keep parents engaged in the discussion with their children, as well as caregivers or psychologists, other professionals working with kids, to help them think through, who are their secure bases and the folks that they can link to.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I saw a question about how people can engage with the materials and whether or not they can put the link on their own sites to get people over to these, and wanted you to be able to address that one, Antonio.
Yes, we have our free resources that are bilingual and available for anyone interested and excited at using them. So these can be used and accessed anywhere. I can show you very quickly just to get on our resource. If you go to sesameworkshop.org, you're welcomed to a page that looks a little bit like this. And all of our resources are bucketed under 3 different categories: ABCs and 1, 2, 3s. And those are those resources specifically for academic school readiness. So science, art, language literacy, math, and STEAM. Healthy minds and bodies, that sort of speaks to the ways that we continue to help children grow in healthy ways by what they eat, how we help them think, grow, and process the world around them by talking about big feelings and how they understand it. And then our third and final category is tough topics. And those are sort of those more challenging circumstances that children sometimes have to deal with, things that are outside of the realm of their control, but they still have to engage in, right? Things like familial incarceration, grief, homelessness, traumatic experiences, and parental addiction are just a few of our different topics here. And when you click on any of the topics, you'll be able to access all of the resources that are connected there. So for today's conversation, for instance, we're clicking into emotional well-being. When I click into that page, you'll see at the top of the page that big introductory video that we saw at the beginning of today's conversation about me and my grown-up. And as you continue to scroll down the page, you'll see a wealth of other resources like that book, My Grown-Up Cares, My Feelings Garden, and a couple other videos that all speak to the different resources that are connected to this page. They're available in English and in Spanish. And if you're not quite sure what you're looking for or don't know the best way to start, we often like to use the filter option, where you can take a look by the age of the person you're working with, the type of language that they speak, the resource that they like to learn in, or the time that you have with them to meet a need that is specific to their want. And in this way, we get back to that child-centered approach of being able to learn through curiosity, and that helps really shape all of the experiences by all of the grown-ups that come to our page.
We've got some other great examples in the chat there of strategies to use, including using follow-up questions to help your child know you're listening and interested, using games like I Spy, to help children be able to name and recognize feelings and other aspects of their environment. So I love the things that are going on in the chat.
Yeah. And I have a quick question from Manjana about one has to make an account to use these. We do not require people to make an account. If there's professional development that you'd like to learn a little bit more about, we have that, and we invite people to use a login information. But all of our resources are available in a variety of different languages and can be accessed for free whenever you come to sesameworkshop.org. So it's an easy, quick place to get to. The QR generator that we're putting at the end is just so if you're short on time, you know that one single button you can press to get to these resources, but now you know where they all live. So you can go just to sesameworkshop.org to see where they can be. As we move on, friends, to that second concept of tending to feelings, we recognize that for children, feelings are like flowers in a garden, that there are many different kinds that all need to be cared for. And then this idea of an emotional awareness is the ability to notice, to label, and to regulate a range of emotions and bring awareness to one's emotional world. A child's emotional awareness includes recognizing physical cues of different emotions, labeling emotions with feeling words, identifying and practicing regulation strategies, and feeling comfortable with expressing emotions. We hope that with greater emotional awareness, kids will better understand their emotions and then build skills in recognizing the emotions of others. And so to see what this looks like in a video that we've tried to model, we'll take a quick moment to watch together this video about feelings and think a little about what you could do with it. You might encourage, after watching it, small ones in your care to name the feelings that they see in this video, or to write feelings in blank flowers by using a printable that goes with it. Let's take a look first and see what this video, the My Feelings Garden, is all about.
Mommy, these flowers are gonna look so pretty in the garden.
Yeah.
You made it.
Hi, Abby. Hi, Maggie.
Hello, Louie. Oh, welcome to the Community Garden Day.
We are so happy to volunteer.
Well, I'm so happy that you're here.
Yeah, Elmo's really excited to help in the garden, but, Elmo feels something else, too. Oh, well, what's that, Elmo? Well, Elmo's going to a new friend's birthday party later, and Elmo's tummy feels like it has butterflies inside.
Oh, butterflies in the tummy. We all know that feeling.
Are you feeling nervous, Elmo? Because when we're nervous, we feel unsure about something.
Oh, yeah, Elmo feels nervous. And Elmo feels excited to help out at the garden, too. Oh, you're feeling two different feelings at the same time? Yeah, Elmo is.
Yes, that happens a lot to kids and grown-ups.
It does?
Well, sure. Like right now, I feel happy that I get to spend time with you, Maggie, and Abby in the garden. And I'm also feeling disappointed because I know that we can't stay here very long. It's important that we talk about this because there are so many different kinds of feelings.
That's right. Just like there's so many different kinds of flowers in the garden.
Oh, and just like we take care of flowers, we can take care of our feeling.
Well, Elmo still feels nervous.
Oh, Elmo, would you like to take some big, deep belly breaths?
Oh, yeah. When I feel nervous, that's what I do. Oh, okay. Yeah, let's do some belly breathing. Okay. Okay. Elmo's feeling better. Yeah, Elmo's not as nervous about his new friend's birthday party.
Yeah, the garden is such a calming place.
Yeah, I feel good just being surrounded by all these flowers. Hey, Elmo knows. Elmo could draw some flowers on Elmo's friend's birthday card. Oh, boy. Flowers, friends, and feelings. What a day.
Sure is. All right, let's get to volunteering.
Let's see some flowers.
really want you to
Oh,
start.
hey, I have some snack
Well,
cookies
if
over
my
here.
hoodlums served me well, these
there's
daffodils
some
need
Mary-
a lot of
oh,
sun.
It was a cute, fun video to watch. And we know that, again, for both kids and grown-ups, being overwhelmed with those big feelings, even pleasant ones, is an opportunity to learn and to practice some different ways that we can process and share those aloud. So in addition to that video, we've also included a couple other printable documents to go with it. The first, My Feelings Garden, that codes for children the specific language they could use to tend to their feeling flowers. And then also an additional video called I Notice, I Feel, I Can, which is a 3-step plan that we've been able to create with members of this team to think about how we practice the steps for being able to process out loud what we feel, where we feel it, and then how to share that with someone else.
Antonio, part of what I love about this video and the whole garden analogy is it really sets the stage for children to learn not only what their emotions are, but also that idea that you can experience multiple complex emotions at the same time.
Yep.
And that's not something you get right away, but kids need that understanding as well. And, it's part of that emotional awareness that's a building block of emotional regulation. And we know that's key to social interaction, to developing friendships, and of course, also to school readiness and the ability to be able to really engage in structured environments with others. So this is just a great sort of not only introduction to those concepts, but also moving through to the idea of more complex emotional experiences.
Yeah, and you'll see as you continue to sort of go through our resources, we've tried to think about how we show and share that in lots of different ways, right? How do we show Louis presenting that to his son so that it can be modeled out loud, not just talked about separately, right? And so thinking a little bit more about what are the different creative ways that we can get that same message across multiple times is definitely part of the Sesame magic that we've relied on you and the APA team for help and guidance on. So excited to see where these resources live and how they've evolved. All right, friends, we're going to move on to the third and final concept for today's conversation, and that is about us, right? It's our personal growth and development. So no matter how you identify or the role that you play connected to a child in their life, we know that the roles that we play in a child's circle of care are crucial in supporting their emotional well-being. And we also know that this meaningful work is hard, and it requires us to be present enough to be our best selves for the communities in our care. And so to do that, we try to think a little bit more about how we work hard every day to meet the needs of our clients, but also recognize that we are vulnerable too. And as members of a helping profession, we sometimes forget that we could benefit from help. And so connected to this last concept of professional development and personal growth, The articles displayed here focus on self-care and are written from and focused on the perspectives of education and healthcare providers of children and families. By creating a nurturing environment, building strong relationships, supporting social and emotional development, providing resources and support, and collaborating with families, we understand that we can all do our job a little bit better to think about how we can model for kids the ways they can develop these skills to thrive emotionally and socially, one relationship at a time. And I'm interested, Lauren, from your perspective, as you think about professional development and it comes to nurturing relationships, is there an overarching idea or a concept that you would push us to think about, that no matter what people get from this, what we should hold on to for our own growth?
I have a couple of thoughts, Antonio. One is, I use this analogy all the time. People who work with me will tell you, I talk about the oxygen mask on the airplane all the time, and the idea that you put yours on first, right? You got to take care of yourself. No one can provide the good care and quality of engagement that a child needs if they themselves are in great need. And so you've got to think about your own personal growth and development. And that's whether you're a parent or a teacher or some other professional caregiver like a psychologist who's working with patients. And I think as psychologists, we know that, but we're not so good at remembering it and practicing it. So I definitely encourage the self-care. And this ties into one of the questions we had in our Q&A about the fast pace of life. And when I read that, I was thinking, it's true that our fast pace of life these days is affecting children's growth and development. And attunement really can play into that, right? Tips for for parents to help deal with that is to pay attention to the pace that your child needs. Pay attention to when they get frazzled and when they don't, and what helps them. Encourage them to engage in downtime, and importantly, help them to recognize afterwards how much the downtime helped them, that they feel better, how they're doing, and then model it. So this is back to the self-care, right? Model it for yourself. Take that downtime and take the moment to appreciate how much it helped you, or whatever else you decide to do for self-care, and then express that to your clients, your students, your children, if you're a caregiver using these resources. So it's such an important piece to both, do it yourself, but also take the moment to appreciate it and name it.
And sort of like the mindset that comes with really planning for yourself, giving your space the time to process, to debrief, to think through what this could look like for future orientations for yourself, for the families, the children, and the adults that you have, is so pivotal, right? That's how we create space for us. Just sort of keeps the conversation going.
Absolutely.
Great, friends. Well, I'm seeing in both the Q&A and also in the webinar chart, a lot of great questions, some of them specific to emotional being, some a little bit broader. And so I wanted to take a quick moment before we begin to wind down our conversation today to just show you a couple of the other places where all of our resources live. Again, if you go to the sesameworkshop.org website, you'll see under family resources, the great wealth of different topics we have under those three categories: ABCs and 1, 2, 3s, healthy minds and bodies, and tough topics. All of these include topics and specific resources with everyone in mind, and all of the different ways they like to learn, with things like printable pages, digital storybooks, interactive games that are responsibly designed to meet any computer-based platform, storybooks, and a wealth of other things that you might need in your care or work with others. As you continue to professionally develop, you can also click on courses and webinars, where all of these digital learnings exist as courses, webcasts, digital events, and other ways to continue the growth and learning from subject matter experts like Dr. Summers and a wealth of other people from across the United States. And so we try to continue to grow our Sesame family wide and large international, but we also want to make sure there's a one-stop shop where you can all learn from them together. And we want Sesame Workshop to be that for you. And so as you go again to healthy minds and bodies down to emotional well-being, you'll see some of the great bulk of resources that we talked through today in English. They exist on this page in English and in Spanish, with things like storybooks, printable screens, videos, and a wealth of other resources that can be used just by clicking on the different filtering options of age group, language, resource type, and activity. So friends, we're going to begin to wind down today's conversation. As I mentioned before, we were so excited to get the great bulk of people registering, and we had over 400 different questions that came through. And so I will be the first to say that we did not by any means answer all of them, but we tried to our best group some of the questions so that they were in thematic categories where we could give short answers to and give you breadcrumbs so you could go after today's conversation down the rabbit hole of sesameworkshop.org and find where these resources live. The first question had to do with resources to support children of varied abilities. And when it comes to celebrating the unique abilities of all children, we've tried to dedicate our page on autism to include resources that feature Julia, Sesame's first Muppet diagnosed with autism. This also includes on our page a big focus that we call See Amazing in All Children. We can think about the unique ways that all children present themselves to the world and how we can learn from all of them. And this page includes free bilingual resources connected to topics like family connection, how to make friends, talking about challenges, and even building a skill set for flexible thinking. Connected to this, when it comes to celebrating the vibrant tapestry of all families, a topic page on family bonding includes books and videos and printables collected to blended families, dads, grandparents, and moms. In addition to that, and I saw a question through the chat window, there was interest in our sister site called SS4MF, or Sesame Street for Military Families. And this is a site specifically intended for military families around the world with resources to support everyone in there to help all families of military service build the skills they need to continue to be resilient. Moving on, we also talked a lot and had a lot of questions connected to how to support children going through traumatic experiences. And connected to that, back on the sesameworkshop.org portal, you'll find a dedicated suite of resources to remind children of ways to stay in control when the world around them feels overwhelming. And this also includes resources to share with caregivers and other providers so that we can really continue to be as trauma-informed as possible. And I learned that APA has done a whole lot of work on this on your own digital platform, correct?
That's right. Yes. So for actually all these topics here, you can go to the apa.org site and go to the topics page and go under children and find resources related to most of the things you've mentioned here. We definitely have a large section on resilience and trauma for folks.
Great. Sadly, this is something that is just continuing to get both more attention and more needs to build even more nuanced resources for, right? It's becoming a little bit more present in our everyday lives.
Yes, absolutely.
And a question in the chat window, yes, all the resources are free. If you just go to withinsesameworkshop.org, you'll find everything that lives under that singular topic page of traumatic experiences. And you can look in the link for APA where all the resources live on that platform. And one last question, as we think about other information connected to this group, some registrants were interested in how to stay connected to the Sesame Street family and also continue to grow in your own professional development. And the good news is that you are already family, right? This is a little bit of our own family reunion. We try to stay connected to APA and share with you whenever we do new launches. And we also connect with members of this team to think about how that we can make sure to, again, choose the best, most articulate strategic language to use with concepts that are guided by Lauren and members of the APA team. And so when you think about your own professional development and learning, you can click on our pages connected to courses and webinars to learn a little bit more about things like webcasts, online asynchronous courses, and other ways and interactive guides to make sure that you can meet the need with a wide variety of topics that give you behind the scenes work of not only how we created them, but some of the different ways that you might want to implement these resources into your old full programming. And friends, as we start to wind down today, that topic page that we've been talking about today on emotional well-being and so many more can be found on sesameworkshop.org. This is, again, home to thousands of free bilingual multimedia tools to help children and their families enrich and expand knowledge during our earliest years. This robust site is designed to enhance the amazing work you're already doing with children and families in your community. But as you do it, keep in mind a few things. The first, this is a grown-up website with toys, with resources, and with tools for children to use. And we have more than 2,000 different activities in a wide variety of languages to meet those needs. All of our activities are reflected in English and in Spanish, and depending on your context, where you're working, or if you're moving from physical space to physical space, the options to save these resources, to share them digitally, or to print them out and physically hand them to someone else. You can also save and log in where you have your own digital locker to include all these resources. Keep in line that professional development or stay involved because each and every month we have new resources and new tools that you can use and to create things that are connected to everyone in the neighborhood. So friends, as we wind down today's conversation, you can explore the resources connected to emotional well-being by diving into sesameworkshop.org or by using the QR code on your screen. As you work to find resources for everyone in your neighborhood, use your profile to create a digital locker that you can store all of your favorite resources in and share them in just a few ways that make sense to you. Remember, you don't have to do all of them at once. Just start slow with one resource, with one child, with one client, or with one family, and go from there. And Lauren, I'm going to defer to you on how you can close out this conversation or any important things you want us to make sure we remember.
I think it's just, I'd like to, hit the highlight on that attunement. I see so many questions coming up around, what do you do when parents are struggling, and what do you do when parents are not emotionally available?
Yeah.
Where do you go? And I think it's just helping parents to tune in to their children and respond in that way, while you're also helping the parents work on their own self-care is a way to go. So I think these are a great suite of resources that function wonderfully as standalone. Take the pieces that work for you and that you think you can use with various families with whom you engage, or pull them together in a way and pull a group of parents together and work through them in that way. So there's lots of availability here. I think these resources are so excellent, and you could really utilize them in a variety of different ways for folks, to make them useful in your practices and in your communities. And there's also a question about age group, and of course the resources are perfect for from birth and really young children, all the way up. But I think you can see how you could use them even with some older children to get them talking and thinking and adapt them. So I'd say there's not really there's no limit, right? If you see a use for the resources, they're great for using that way.
Yeah, but I think to that end, what we often ask is people saying, can I use this with my teenage daughter, with my middle school son? And we say, yes, but sometimes the concepts are more appropriate than the use of Elmo, right? So thinking about how that person likes to learn and how you can use our resources to speak to that need is really ideal. Lots of different questions also about if these are standalone resources, if they function like a curriculum. The resources are intended to be built almost like a buffet, right? That you can take the ones that you want, leave the ones that you don't, that you can plug and play with them in whatever combination works for you, but specifically that works for the way that the person, the child, the adult that you're working with likes to learn, right? We want to lean into that and really make our approach centered on their learning style. So that way you have lots of different places to work with.
Yeah, Antonio, I could really see pulling together a small group of parents who have young children and working through some of the resources with them and having them learn from each other and using this as a curriculum in a family, a parenting small group setting even.
Yeah.
So lots of ways to be creative with the resources.
Awesome. Well, on behalf of the Sesame Workshop, Dr. Summers, it was a pleasure both getting to connect with you and learning from you and everyone on today's call. We want to thank you for making time, for sharing out all of the work that you do and all of the identities that you are to meet the needs of families and communities in your care. We look forward to learning from you all in days to come. On behalf of the Sesame Workshop, my name is Antonio Freitas. Thanks for all being together today.
Thanks, everyone.